Hey guys, welcome back to New York Sports MC. Want to go through my first mock off season where we'll go through free agency, part of the draft, and really just look at one way where the Jets can look to improve the team this year. I'll try to do a few of these throughout the off season, especially as we potentially re-sign people before free agency, as free agency starts, and then of course as we get closer to the draft. But this is just one way that we can look to improve some of these positions of need this year. So let's start off by the people that we're going to be letting go to free up some more cap space. So the number one guy we have is Tremaine Johnson. So I'm going to free up $3 million, but he has underperformed. It's been a horrible contract, and not only has he underperformed, he just seems like he doesn't care. He doesn't seem like he's working hard to get better. And Greg Williams benched him, and he seemed like it didn't even faze him. So we just don't want that kind of attitude in our locker room. Get him out of here. Take the hit this year, and let's move on. Next one's Avery Williamson. I think he just became expendable. We had a lot of other middle linebackers that came in and played pretty well this year, and with the amount of money we're paying C.J. Mosley, I just think that we need to free up that extra money from Avery Williamson's contract to just reallocate it to a position of need. After that, we got Quincy Enunwa. Unfortunately, he cannot stay healthy with the two neck injuries. He should probably really just retire. That's not anything to play around with. So I just don't think that he can stay healthy for us. For that reason, I would let him go, use a little bit of cap space as well. The next two guys, zero dead money, going to free up quite a bit for us. Winters and Roberts. Both of them have underperformed and been injured, and freeing up roughly $7 million apiece is something that we could really use that money to help improve this team. The last two are some special teamers that I think are just making like 1.5 to 2.5 million, but we can free up that money, get special teamers on the minimum, and keep it moving in Bellamy and Fairway. So those are guys I have us cutting from the roster. So let's look at some of the people that are on the Jets that we're going to look to re-sign this year. So the biggest one, and I think the most important in-house guy to re-sign, is Brian Poole. The slot position is getting more and more important every single year as these slot receivers are becoming more and more utilized in offenses. So I looked at Bryce Callahan's contract that he got last year as a good benchmark because Bryce Callahan is a slot corner as well. So Callahan's contract was 3 years, roughly $23 million. So that's what I put us at for Poole. The next guy I have us bring back is Beecham. He proved to help semi-solidify the offensive line. We can't replace them all in one offseason. He's a great locker room guy, and I think he's going to be a great mentor and leader for some of the young guys on the offensive line that we're going to bring in to show them how it is to be a professional on and off the field. So I bring back Beecham on a 1 year, $7 million deal, right? Help him groom the young guys and then be on your way. The next is Jordan Jenkins. He's a great edge setter for us. He's played, well. He's a great complement if we could ever get that other edge rusher, that pure edge. He, I think, led our team the last 2 years in sacks or was very close to it. So I definitely bring him back on a 3-year, 18 million. Really like what he brings to the table. I'm also going to bring back Lewis as just a cheaper, more cost-effective option to compete for one of the guard spots. Bring him back on like a $3 or $4 million deal for 1 year. And like I said, let him compete. We're not handing him anything. He deserves to come back. He played better than anyone else that we had at left guard last year. So he deserves to come back and compete for that spot. So that's really it I have for the re-signings. I do have Burgess and Copeland down as potential low-level signings as well if we can't fill that middle linebacker and the opposite outside linebacker position in this offseason. I think that they were, good soldiers for the team. They worked hard, and, they didn't seem to be any issues with them as far as locker room. So I definitely look to bring them back, but this would be something like later in the offseason if we end up not getting people for those positions. But they're not going to cost much if we bring them back on a 1-year deal. So I also have us re-signing Jamal Adams. Adams said he believes that the deal will get done this offseason. So I looked at the Eddie Jackson deal, and I put him at $14 million a year. So I give him a $14 million cap hit for this year. We'll wait to see how many years we may give him, how much guaranteed money, but that hopefully will come out pretty soon. So that's it for the outside. The interior guys bringing back. So who are we going to target on the outside to bring in to help improve this team? The number one guy I have us targeting, or the first guy we should definitely push for, is Thuney from the Patriots. We need to improve the offensive line everywhere. He was a second-team All-Pro guard. I really believe that he can help solidify the inside of this line. It also helps hurt the hated Patriots by poaching one of their players. I did read that a lot of execs around the league think that the Jets will be aggressive for targeting Thuney. So what I looked at for that is Brandon Brooks, who's one of the top guards in the league currently, just signed a new deal, 4 years, $56 million, roughly $14 million a year. So I think that was a good indicator of the kind of contract it may take to get Thuney over here as well. So that's what I have. The next big ticket item I have is not somebody really here rumored to the Jets, but I think would be a great target for us and a possibility in this scenario, and Byron Jones. So Byron Jones, obviously the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys, all indications, want to franchise tag Dak Prescott, and they definitely want to try to bring back Amari Cooper, as him and Dak have a very good connection. They can't re-sign everybody. They're in a tight cap spot. So I think Byron Jones is somebody that could very well leave the organization. He helps solidify our cornerback position. I'd bring him in on a deal similar to Marcus Peters, where Marcus Peters got 3 years, $42 million, or again about $14 million per year. And then after that, I have us, since I don't have us bringing back Robbie, I have us signing Funches on a 1-year prove-it deal, $5 million or less in base salary. Give him some incentives in there to where he can make more if he hits certain markers for yards, touchdowns, games played, things like that. So give him an incentive-laden deal so he can try to reset his market for next year and hopefully get more money for himself. But I think that he's a nice big-bodied receiver that can help Darnold in red zone. And since we aren't bringing back Robbie, we got to bring in some guys at the wide receiver position. So those are the 3 guys that I have us bringing in from the outside, mostly re-signing some guys of our own. That would bring us roughly around a little over $8 million in cap space, which is enough to sign our draft class. Really, we'll have more than that. I'm not a salary cap guru. I don't try to pretend to be what I'm not, or talk on things that I don't know 100%. So what I did for this illustration on overthecap.com, all this information was not on overthecap, is I put them in at their average salary. So if they're, for example, Byron Jones and Thuney averaging $14 million a year, I put them as a $14 million cap hit for year 1, which typically is not the way that these deals are structured. Typically in year 1, you're making less than what the average is. So then in year 3 or 4, whatever your last year is, you're making more. So let's say it's $14 million average. You may make $12 million the first year, $16 million the last year, right? So I think the number comes down, or I should say the salary cap number comes up a little bit as Joe Douglas structures these deals, gives them less money in the first few years than the back end of the deals. So let's move right into the draft, where I'm going to go through the first 3 rounds. I haven't done enough research to really go any further than that. And I don't want to just start picking people based off on the mock drafts. I want to do some research on these people. So with pick number 11, this is a very hopeful pick for us. I did see it in a few mock drafts, so it's not just me going out on one, but I'm hoping Andrew Thomas falls to us. But this pick has got to be tackle. So I'm going to say it's tackle Andrew Thomas. Nice big body tackle. Started, I think, three or 4 years in college. Has a lot of good production there. Plug and play. We can keep him there for a long time. If he's not there, I'm definitely going to try to go with one of these other tackles. But in this illustration, we're going to say that he fell to us at pick number 11. But even if we go Beckham, I'd be okay with that. So now we're coming back to round number 2. I had Robbie Anderson leaving. I did bring in Funches, but I want to go wide receiver here. Go Michael Pittman Jr. I think, he's a nice big body receiver as well. I think that he can really thrive with this team since he already has that chemistry with Sam Darnold from their year together at USC. So I'd love to bring him in. You bring in this familiar face for Darnold after Robbie walked. So really helping him out there. The third round, I'm going with the center. And if you guys saw my other video, I did a video on Matt Hennessy of Temple. I think that he would be a great pick. I love the fact that he is smart. He's technically there. I said the one weak spot with him is the strength. I think that's something with NFL strength and conditioning coach, get him on a meal plan. We can build that up. But to have somebody in that center position that has the intelligence to make the calls, make the reads, and get people looking and blocking in the right direction is huge. Because in the seeing ghost games, that's what happened. We had no idea where the blitz was coming from. Nobody knew what calls to make to try to make sure that these guys were picked up in these blitzes, and it was a mess. So I have us getting Hennessy in that third round pick. The second, third round pick, I have us taking an edge in this spot. There are quite a few people that can be here. I want to do some more research on it, but I just want to let you guys know that that's where I really have us trying to address that edge spot in the third round. It's still a pretty high pick because, as you know, we have the Giants' third round and our third round. So the second, third round pick still only the 11th pick in the third round. I also just want to mention I have us drafting a kicker in the sixth round. Blankenship is one that comes to mind. I know I skipped a few rounds there, but that's a position that we really need to address. I don't want to bring back Ficken. I want to draft somebody that we can have here for a long time, and Blankenship was huge for Georgia, so that's who I would want to bring in. But let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think we're going to do in free agency? How do you feel about those draft picks? Like I said, as we go through the offseason, I'll be doing this again. I'll do a little more research, get a little further down in the draft as well. But love to hear you guys comment, and as always, Jet up.